Well, I'm delighted to bring you this episode because I think the story with this gentleman goes way beyond, way back during my journalism days, as when I was a journalist. I still don't know when I was looking at when I was chatting with you. I just saw that I still have your name saved as Arrow's coach because that's when I started talking to him, and I probably got him on back then on the fan garage. But to all of you listening, thank you so much. This is a totally Indian football show with me, Siju, and I'm so much delighted to get Coach FP on the show. That's his Twitter handle, and that's I think we all love to call him that way, Floyd Pinto. Welcome to the show once again.
Thank you, Siju.
Yeah, thank you so much for being this warm, gentle person who always responds
Yeah.
and who always. I don't think you've ever said no for anything that I've asked. So thank you so much for that. Let's get to it. It's been how many years has it been from day one of your coaching, from Kenkre days to all the travels that you've done?
This will be my 14th season. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's been 14 years ever since I took the plunge after engineering. So it's been good so far. And it's getting better. Every year seems to be a little bit more exciting than the previous one. So I think that helps.
Nice. And let's just probably, instead of starting from day one, let's go rewind a bit from the last season that you were with in Northeast United FC. What was that like? And to all our listeners, we are recording this, I must say, because we are recording this on the 1st of June. So by the time this episode comes out, a few things probably we may not talk about the Intercontinental Cup because by the time this is out, it's already midway. So, but we'll definitely talk about the SAFF Cup. This episode will definitely be out before that. So just wanted to put the timeline out there in case you find, why are they talking about this? Ye to ho gaya hai and stuff. So on the day of the recording is when, Northeast United also announced, and also Naushad Musa, coach, announced his departure from BFC and then he's going to NUFC. How has all this gone by? How was the season for you? I think personally for me, I was surprised when I saw you leaving Punjab and heading to Northeast. What take us through that?
No, because at every stage in your career, you need to kind of have a pathway that you set for yourself, a goal that you need to achieve at a certain point in time. And I felt after 2 years with Punjab, I wanted to experience the ISL, and nothing at the club with Roundglass. It's a fantastic club with good facilities, good people around. The opportunity is endless with that football club, and I think you'll only see that from now on once they are part of the ISL. But my aim was to be in the ISL, and probably there were a couple of options, and one of them was Northeast United. And I felt as a club, I would get the opportunity to coach hands-on with Northeast. And that was the reason why I said, okay, let's go and experience the ISL. If you see it as a whole, I'm really happy that I've got that one season in the ISL under my belt. It was a fantastic experience. The very first game was away to Bengaluru FC, and the atmosphere of the ISL at that point of time hit me because while I was setting up the markers at the Kantirava, I just kind of stood still and kind of just had a look around. And the West Block Blues, even there were a few away fans behind our dugout, just created that aura, at so early before kickoff. The lights, the brightness everywhere, the quality of the surface, balls, everything. So it kind of settled in at that point of time. Okay, this is what the ISL is all about. And it's going to be a pleasure, being in the ISL and competing in the ISL. So it's good. You got an idea of the competitiveness in the league, the level of football, what it takes to be an ISL player. There's a big difference as far as the I-League and the ISL when it comes down to the facilities involved, the professionalism that it requires for players, the knowledge and the experience that you need even as a staff member to cope up with the competition that's there in the ISL. So as a whole, it was a good experience, experiencing the ISL as a whole. So hopefully I can get a few more seasons in the ISL. It would be good. Yeah.
And now when you see Punjab won the I-League, okay, and now we would probably see them next season in ISL as well because we start the promotion bit. How did that, when you got to know about that, and when
there was no one more happier than me because I knew I was part of the first season when they were in professional football under Curtis and then under Ashley. So I knew how much they wanted to be in the ISL. And the owner Sunny is a fantastic guy. He's got lots of energy. He's got lots of enthusiasm. And what he said was, unless and until you're able to compete and earn your place in the ISL, we won't be there. So it was very clear that if we wanted to be in the ISL, we had to win the I League. So he set a standard and he said that's how we were supposed to be. If you're not going to be able to compete in the I League, there's no way you're going to go up in the ISL, spending that much amount of money and then compete against what's there in the ISL. So I'm glad for them. They had a star-studded squad this year. If I run back the squad, I think there were hardly a couple of players that were there from the squad that we worked with in the first 2 years. And hardly, I think one of them played regularly. Rest, everyone were fresh. A lot of loanees from the ISL. So the squad was probably the best I-League squad in the league. And they did really well. They hit the ground running early. They played a very attacking brand of football, an open style of football. And it worked for them. And given the facilities that they have, and given the amount of care in which they take care of the players, the staying facilities, the gym, the nutrition, etc., the mental side of things, everything is taken care of. So I think it's a very good environment to be in the ISL. So I'm happy for them. And if I get the chance to be in the ISL again, I'll be looking forward to that match, against Round Glass.
When you say you're looking forward to play against them, any chances that probably we see you back with them reunited?
I have no idea. At the moment, I said, as we speak, it's been officially announced that Naushad Musa is there with Northeast United. So it's I've just now thrown my hat into the free agents section. So I'm talking to people, hoping to get kind of a project that I'll be happy to be with, not just for 1 year, just for a few more years. Like I said, I've been part of a couple of projects. One is Kenkre Football Academy for 6 years, worked right through the system and the first team. Then I worked with the Arrows. Before that, I worked with the AIFF under 18 academies, under 19s. So I'm used to working, on a multi-year basis and not just contribute to the first team, but also give my experience to the coaches and the players at the level below, be it the reserves. So I'm looking for whichever projects are available. If there's an opportunity to work, it's a big thing now because competition for places, especially in the ISL, is going to be really, really tough. With a lot of now, with the emphasis on coaching licenses, the current pro license course going on. So there will be a lot of coaches that are competing for those spots. But it's not just the ISL. There are a lot of clubs in the I-League as well who are very stable-minded. Like Round Glass is one of them who are now in the ISL. Srinidhi is there, another club. So there are clubs that are really stable, have a plan in place. So, if any project comes my way and, it suits what I'm looking for in my next move, I'll be more than happy to take it up.
There's always something that people talk about that I've heard, of everyone who joins a company or joins whatever field it may be. There's something in alignment. Either you're at a phase where I just need a job, so I get into it. Or the other way is you look through everything, what the company stands for, what are they actually aiming for, and does that align with the values that I have, right? So for you, who's now not anymore a fresher, who's been there for 14 years, apart from the fact that you mentioned it should excite you, it should make you feel happy, if you had to break it down a little bit more further, what is it that gets you to say that, okay, I'll put the pen to the paper now, this feels right?
You talk to people at the club. You get a good feel about them. The best example I would give you, Mandar has joined Northeast United, and I think that's the biggest signing for them this season, apart from the coach and the players. I would love to work with someone like him, knowing what he's done at BFC, knowing what he's done prior to joining BFC. So someone like that who has a vision, who has a plan, a process, and is eager to make that work. It's not just, putting it on paper, but practically, executing that on the field of play. And someone who brings people together, works together. There was a nice line that the owner of Round Glass, Sunny, said, is that as you progress, or as you're trying to reach your peak, don't do it alone. Take people with you so that when you reach the top, you can have a party with them rather than reaching the top alone. So that kind of personality, that kind of, a person at the club always gives you the confidence that no matter what, mistakes are going to happen, roadblocks are going to be there. But if you have that kind of infectious atmosphere within the club, everyone works towards a single goal. There is a line of communication, there's a clear line of, what has to be achieved, what can be achieved, what is considered as failure, what is considered as, success. And once that's defined, as a coach, you're just clear, just to do what you do best, which is coach on the field of play. You don't have to worry about what's happening off the field. You don't have to worry about the small things here and there. So it's a good example, someone like Mandar. And I see a lot of clubs this year who are successful have that person in the CEO post, which is the bridge between the coaching staff and the management. And if that person is of the right frame of mind, the clubs right now, are stable. And they may not achieve success immediately on the pitch, but you see that there is progress season by season. You could name the clubs on the fingertips. There are not that many at this point of time, but that's something that excites me. To work with that kind of an environment where everybody is working towards a common goal, and you can then further enhance the ability to reach that goal with the qualities that you possess. That's something I look forward.
Right. And you just mentioned that the fact that, of bridging the gap if people are there. And how does one go about, say, for example, you mentioned that the point of patience as well, of, you may not find immediate success on the pitch. Now, that's something, I think patience is something that Indian football, we often talk about, are we patient enough? Because we want immediate success. We want to do this. We might do endless number of trips, endless number of tournaments, and we think, okay, why aren't we still not performing? But do you think it hasn't changed? I mean, with certain clubs that you say, like maybe just a few to count on your fingers, but are there clubs that are patient enough to say, okay, I mean, we may not get immediate success, but we'll still keep pushing, we'll still get there. It's about building that team and then finally getting together on top and having a party. Do you think we are?
100% there are clubs, because the clubs that I'm talking about, for example, I'm sure every club wants success. You plan for it. Some want to reach that kind of success in one season or every season. Some say, okay, let's have it over 3-4 year period. But what's good about these clubs is that they have a base. So say a coach comes in, takes you to 60% of that success. And then you find out, okay, mutually you say, okay, that's as far as I can take you. Then if the core of the club is strong, you bring in someone else who can now take you from 60 to 80 or 100. Rather than having no plan at all, and a club and a coach that has taken you to that 60% of success, and then you go back to square one and start from zero, it's a big difference. So there are a lot of clubs right now who are so stable that it doesn't depend upon who comes in as a head coach. The base below him is really strong. Whether it be the Indian staff, or whether it be the management below it, CEO below, the owners, or whether it be the academy or the reserves, or the structure of the club is so strong that the base will not crack that easily. And then it's a matter of fact of bringing in the right person at the top that can lead, that charge towards the target that's required. So definitely there are a lot of clubs that are so stable right now. It's good to see there are coaches who are getting multiple year contracts, which is a good sign, And more importantly, there are opportunities for Indian coaches as well now. In the I-League, for sure, Clifford winning the Super Cup has opened up a lot of opportunities for Indian coaches if they want to take that plunge. So it's there, it's out there. It's just that you need to find the right place or be in the right place at the right time.
Coming to the coaching aspect of it, you've done your A. Have you done the pro?
No, I couldn't get on the pro course.
Okay.
Too competitive.
So you've done A.
Yeah.
And all these while, like from the D up to the A, I'm sure you've traveled also for the courses. If you were to talk us through about the whole coach education aspect of it, right? When you go for these courses, you're again a student. You're no more heading things. You have to listen and understand and, be the person on the receiving end and not the one delivering there, right? How does that switch happen? Does it come easy? Because we are not even in the student mode anymore. You know what I mean? You're studying, I mean, you're not in the studying mode anymore. So you're working and that's your job profile. And suddenly you have to switch to being a student. Again, a classroom environment, and you have your practical sessions and stuff. How does that switch happen? And take us through a bit about your experience having gone through the coach education system in India.
So initially, when I started off with Kenkre Football Academy, the coaching licenses in India were as good as non-existent. So it was very difficult for me, to kind of showcase myself as a coach because there was nothing in hand. At that point of time, and I am still English football fan. So I applied for the FA licenses. So my very first coaching licenses were in England. So I traveled to England. I did my FA level 1 and FA level 2, which is equivalent to the AFC C license out here. So at least when I came back, I knew that, I had something in hand to kind of, fulfill the criteria for the football club as well and, go ahead. Because one thing was very clear at that point of time was I need to get my coaching licenses. If I don't get that, I have nothing in hand to kind of, even open the door, let alone get into it, get into the room and do the things that I want to do. So a coaching license basically does that. So then when I came back, the licenses just started taking shape, So my C license was in Cooperage. And then after that, again, there was a big gap where there were no licenses at all. Then suddenly a B license popped up in Mizoram. And at that time, Scott was the technical director. So I kind of emailed him saying that, I'm really keen on doing it. I'm working with a club. They're working in the second division I League, etc. And he was kind enough to say, yeah, why not? Get in there. And that's how I progressed. So B license in Mizoram and then A license in Goa. I never ever expected to get onto a course in Goa at that point of time because Goa had such a big amount of coaches and ex-players, etc. This was 2016. That's when I did my A license. And I never expected to get onto that course. And I clearly remember the email from AIFF saying that if there are seats available, only then we'd consider you. And at that point of time, it was good being with Kenkre Football Club because they were a second division I League club. So you were given preference after the I League club. So that's how I could progress through the coaching structure very quickly. So fortunately, I got a chance. And that gave me a big break in my career as well because Scott was the assessor on that course. And he was the one who offered me the job with the AIFF academies as well. But, getting onto the course is, if you're coaching week in, week out, there's nothing better. Because to be honest, I even went back to the UK for the FA international license. But later on, I realized that's a big money spinner and it was kind of a waste of time. But the way they do coaching licenses out there it's so practical oriented. Yeah. But as compared to what was being done out here, this was prior to, I think, Savio and Richard getting together and kind of restructuring the entire coaching process. So, and I'm not privy to that because I've done my A license prior to that. So the coaches that have done the licenses now, or maybe who do the pro licenses now, will be much more privy to what the changes are. But I've heard good things about it. So until then, it was very theoretical. And I felt that the sessions were very, what you would say, not realistic enough. That I wouldn't take that and go back to my club and, do that. Because I'd already been doing certain things there. So basically, you had to go onto the course, have a feel of what's happening there, give your best as to what's required there, get your certificate out. And then when you go to your club, you can kind of chop and change, do whatever you need to do. So I think now it's maybe, I'm hearing it's a little bit more practical oriented. There's a little bit more structure to it. There's more realism in it. So hopefully if that's changed, then I think the coaching courses become a little bit more challenging as well, but even more realistic to what you're doing back at your football club.
Right. And I mean, talking about coming back to probably at this time of, in general scenario of Indian football, we see there's a change happened. A lot of things have happened on and off the field with regards to mainly off the field. I think the most noise we do is often off the field, with the whole change in the regime and a lot of things that happened, right? With the vision being out there, it's been a while now. How do you see the progress? It's slow. I mean, we have to give them more time. So I wouldn't ask you to rate that. But with the new set of plans that's come out, and the new set of tournaments buzz that's happening, what do you make of it? And I mean, Santosh Trophy being played in Saudi and all of those things, a lot of other stuff happening, right? That's just one of the things, but there are other good things that, okay, we see some matches happening, right?
Yeah.
We see tournaments and competitions happening at the youth level.
Yeah.
A lot of grassroots leagues coming out, many clubs taking it up. So how do you see the emphasis of, because we so often talk about grassroots, but there's nothing happening. But finally, do you see that something is changing?
The one thing that I've noticed ever since the new regime has taken over is that things are being done. It may not be done in an ideal way, but it's being done. It's like if you want to learn how to swim, you jump in the water and try to swim.
So are you saying, is that the only option that we have, and that's how we go about saying that, okay, let's get it done?
Yeah, you could say that, but there will be people saying, this is not right, this is not the ideal way. But the fact of the matter is that things are being done, be it the Indian Women's League. The other aspect is I'm very close to Bibiano and following the progress in his preparations for the AFC under-17s as well. They've benefited from, a good trip to Spain, then Germany, and now they are in Thailand. So things are being executed. So even with respect to the way they have put the onus now on the state associations. So it's very clear. You need to do a job as well if we need to succeed. Yeah. So there's one way where you can just throw people into the hat and say, okay, come on, who's going to be on board? So there are people who are going to be really enthusiastic and say, come on, let's go ahead with it. So might as well take those people along with you and find success rather than, trying to push people along when there's no interest at all. So I think so far, so good. And I think if they can overcome the drawbacks and further improve the competitions and the preparations for various teams in the future, then I think it's going to be step by step achieving that goal that they want to achieve in 2047.
Now, even when you're looking at new projects coming up, one thing you mentioned was you want a long term, because that's something you started off with, whether it's Kenkre, AIFF, then Punjab. So when you thought Punjab was the right fit, what happened there, or what didn't go your way that you had to switch to? It was only primary that you wanted an ISL experience, or?
Yeah, primarily I wanted an ISL experience because I think I missed out on the pro license course because of it. Because I think the ISL at this point of time has got such a status where it's given first preference over the I League or any other leagues for that matter. So I think not being there in the ISL was an opportunity missed for me to be on that course, because there are only 18 coaches who are selected for that. Then it comes down to coach educators. It comes down to coaches like Bibiano who are working with the national youth teams and the other ISL teams. There are a lot of coaches on that course who aren't first team coaches in ISL, in their respective ISL teams, but they are on the course. So that's where I think I missed out. So I thought that, if I'm going to delay, and there was a rumor that now that we've got the opportunity to organize the pro license course at a local level from the AFC, that there was a course that was due to start in 2024 as well. So I didn't want to miss out on that, because I knew if I was with Northeast United in the ISL, they would recommend me as a coach for the course. So purely the ISL experience, which I really wanted. And second was that I was very aggressive from the first minute itself to do my coaching badges. So now it's been for 6 years, 7 years since I've done my A license. So it's quite a lot of time. So, and ever since then, I think this is just the second pro license course that's happening. So it's very difficult to get onto that. The competition for places is really, really high. And now more and more ex-players as well are starting to, realize that, coaching is, a profitable kind of place to be. So it's important to be at the right place at the right time to kind of get a seat onto that course as so as to further progress in your career.
Now you have an ISL experience in your bucket. So what was that like? Take us through the ISL experience with Northeast.
Oh, the experience was fantastic. Like I said, packed stadiums wherever we went, the organization, the level of competition, the level of intensity, the level of preparation, everything was up a level. And it excited me because, finally I had some challenge in front of me. Although throughout the season, I was the assistant coach. So you have some time to yourself to kind of sit back and watch what's going on while the head coach and his staff take over things. So it was a good learning experience as well to see how players in the ISL respond to, coaching, to respond to traveling, respond to training, winning, losing, etc. So that experience is, you always learn. Like, it's been one of the most topsy-turvy seasons in my entire coaching career. I've never had a season so up and down like this one, in terms of results, in terms of changes in coaching staff. So it's that itself is a learning experience. So when I was called upon, I was ready because the amount of experience I gained at Round Glass Punjab working under two fantastic coaches in Curtis and Ashley, and my experience with the Arrows all helped me, to kind of calm things down, get everything organized, and get into the Super Cup campaign with a little bit of positive mindset after what the players had been through the entire season. So a big learning experience. There's nothing that I could have imagined that it could be. It was a good experience, yeah.
What do you make of Northeast as a franchisee team? Because, if we had to talk about talent and potential, I think everyone runs to the Northeast, all the states over there, Mizoram, Shillong, all of these places, Manipur now making all the noise as well. And now back again, Arunachal Pradesh is also getting a good amount of limelight because of the young star. But something's not clicked with the Northeast team, right? With the franchisee. They came close to getting on the top 4 finish or top 5, but that also is not there anymore. So what do you see? If there was relegation, the team would have been out long back. So how do you see the prospects? And now that they're trying to probably fix a step at a time, do you think now is probably the upcoming season? Does that make it exciting for them?
Definitely. I think you need a structure in place first. And I think Mandar coming in will get you that structure. Then everything moves in one direction. Recruitment for me is the biggest need of the hour at any football club. If you don't recruit the players that you feel are required for success of your football club with respect to your philosophy, you're never going to be able to achieve your targets midway through the season. So having a clear line of communication, a clear structure in place with respect to protocols being adhered to, with respect to planning of the pre-seasons, approval of things on and off the pitch. That structure needs to be in place first, I think, at Northeast. Once that's in place, everything else will follow. What happens on the field of play is a byproduct of what happens off the field, whether it be training or whether it be decisions by the management on and off the field. So if you're not going to have a clear idea, a clear vision from the start of the season, and if you're going to have, ups and downs when it comes to execution of your plans here and there, so that's going to affect your results onto the pitch. For example, last year we had 2 head coaches, now different philosophies. It's not easy for players to adapt to these kind of changes. So you need to have a clear idea. Once you have a clear idea of how you want to approach your game, you need to first recruit the players early on in pre-season. Make sure that they are fit in the off-season, not just, give them 3-4 months off without doing any work. So that kind of planning, that kind of structure, that kind of long-term vision, not just for one season, but for the next few seasons, having a goal in mind, that can only happen if the structure is solid, if the base is right. And I think this season would give a better idea or a better chance for the football club to achieve, whatever their targets are. Maybe not the main target, but at least go that 30-40% closer to what they want to achieve with that structure in place.
Now, you worked with multiple coaches and different kinds of coaches, right? In one season itself, you've dabbled among the 2 of them, and then in round class, also different seasons. What is it that you've learned? Because I'm sure these guys are different characters also at display. And with Ashley, we've always heard stories about him or how colorful character he is. But apart from that, what do you gather from all these coaches that you work closely with?
Till this date, I think I have learned most in my 2 seasons with Round Glass Punjab. One was because it was the COVID season. So we were together, and so we spent literally 6+6, so maybe 1 year, 2 months in the same hotel, Westin, in Kolkata, out of 2 years. So we got to know a lot about each other, about the coaches. And one thing that set Round Glass apart was the standard that they set. So we had a ground to ourselves, a training pitch to ourselves, where we could go at any point of time, train, etc. But what I learned from both Curtis and Ashley was the amount of detail in their planning. So if you're going to start your preseason, you need to work at least 3 to 4 weeks prior to that, so that the players are ready for preseason. Then you have a preseason in place, and then so the planning that they had, the structure of planning, they were sure of what they wanted even 2-3 months before the season started, with respect to players, with respect to equipment, with respect to the training plan, with respect to how we're going to play, etc., etc. That is what I learned from Kurt. And they were two totally opposite characters. Like you said, Curtis was so calm, so cool, and he was so down to earth. Even on match days, for example, if you are on the bench, he'd personally come to you that morning, knock on your door, give you the information personally, sit with you for about 5 minutes, explain to you why you're not playing. Even if it is a given that you're not going to be in the match day squad, for sure. There are some players who never are in the match day squad, but still every match day he would go knock on their door. There was never an occasion during the entire season where he spoke even a single negative aspect, even when we were losing. He always kept it positive and never raised his voice except for a few, instances at halftime. Then you had Ashley. Now, everyone has that perception about Ashley that he's a big, fiery character. Yes, he is. He demands a lot. But he is one of those coaches like Curtis that I've seen who does everything for his players. He makes sure that the players have everything that they need in order to give more than 100% on the field of play. And both coaches had a similar philosophy that football is not a 2-hour training job. It's just you go on the field 2 hours, you train and get out. It is a 9 to 5 job. So we used to go to the training ground at least an hour and a half prior to the training session. We had our own room where the coaches were. We had the players. The players could get their pre-training massages done, their pre-training injury prevention done in an own inside the room, AC, etc. If they wanted to do some strength training, there were weights kept there. I still remember the first day of this preseason, we went with Ashley. We cleared the entire room of all the garbage that was there, arranged the weights, etc. Get it from whatever we had from Punjab, so that the players have a nice room to kind of bond just before the training session. And even if they wanted to just relax, it was a nice cozy area where they could do everything. Then you get onto the pitch, train, etc. Prior to that, the staff have spoken about what's going to happen in training. We go out, lay the markers, come back in. After training, players get their massages, they go for a shower, they go for a nice bath, have some time maybe to have a cup of tea or just bond over or something like that. So it was kind of a proper 9 to 5 job. Both of them had that aim for the club, and they were both experienced. Right now, Curtis is working in the championship with Bristol City under Nigel Pearson. And Ashley has worked for a lot of clubs in England. And the way he's built up BFC, the plan was to let Round Glass Punjab know how a football club should be run. So they were very successful in that. And I learned a lot about how they dealt with players and a lot of things. But from a coach's point of view, it's a preparation that helped me a lot. So when I was given the charge for the Super Cup, all I had to do was just fall back on what we did, with Round Glass under these two coaches. I had my plan in place, made a few changes with respect to what we had at Northeast United, and then executed that. So if you are prepared from your side of things, the players kind of buy into it. It leaves no room for them to kind of, resist or provide resistance to what you're doing, because it's fair, it's out there. Everybody is given the same platform to prove for themselves, and then let your football do the talking. Never have I seen Curtis especially get kind of mad at players for not doing things. I know Indian players are really there are some Indian players who are very, very uncoachable. They can't, no matter how much you tell them, they can't, they don't do it right. It requires time, they require repetition. He was so patient with each and every one of them. Whereas Ashley was kind of, set a high standard. If you can't reach that standard, he'll give you some time, but if not, you're out. So there were two different kind of, ways of dealing with, players who can't make the cut. So that itself was a learning experience as well. But till date, I don't think I've learned as much as I've learned in those 2 seasons with these 2 coaches. Yeah.
Great. I think now let's segue into the most exciting, one of the exciting tournaments that's coming up. It's the SAFF Cup. Like I said, we won't be touching upon the Intercontinental Cup because by the time this episode's out, I think it's just a few days before the SAFF Cup. So India, Pakistan are back in action in football. And I think either irrespective of how politicized or political we have made it, every time India, Pakistan played out on the field, it's always an exciting moment, right? Yeah. And I think also just talking about footballing aspects, they've been doing a lot of good things, right? Ban was lifted, there's a lot of action happening. So I think even in that perspective, I think for me, I'm looking forward to seeing what does this country bring onto the table or literally onto the ground. We are along with Kuwait and Nepal. So a lot of familiar faces as well. Nepal's coach being Vincent, and he knows what a bit taste of Indian football. He got Gokulam the success. Yeah. He was at Northeast as well. So a lot of fun things. I think a lot to look forward to after stop of the season that's gone by. So I'm assuming you're going to be there. What are you looking forward to? And I think the opening game being the whole India-Pakistan game.
And it's going to be held at the Kantirava. So the atmosphere is going to be electric.
Yeah,
that's one of the reasons I'm going to be there, and I don't want to miss any of these games.
Me too, just in case.
Because I think the game against Pakistan, the game against Nepal, these games don't usually suit us. Because we'll have possession of the ball maximum. We'll have to stop those counterattacks. We'll have to deal with tight spaces. So I think I'm looking forward to how we kind of, break those teams down and get those results out of the way. Then it comes down to teams like Kuwait and Lebanon, if we make it through. And I think we are much more suited to play the bigger teams. Because every time we've played against the bigger teams, I think we have raised our game, or it suits our style of play. So it's going to be very tricky. The AFC Asia Cup qualifiers showed that when Igor gets his time with the players, he gets them to a level of fitness, a level of cohesion.
I mean, we can see that even now, a bit of glimpses from the social media handles that what the players are going through.
Yeah, no, I've been privy to what they do. The fitness coach, Luca, is a huge character. He's a very good character to have around. And he's a workaholic. So he'll make sure that the players are worked, if not once, not twice, sometimes even 3 times a day. But it's all good. He's really sure of what he wants to do. And he'll make sure that the players, get to that. And again, with the national team, you're seeing a lot of players that are going to the camp injured and out. So if you can't sustain what's being done there, might as well you take a break, get your injury over with, and then come back again. So they set a certain standard with the senior national team camp. It's not that easy to break into the final squad, let alone get into the camp. So there's a good standard that's set. So the players that have been there and the ones that I've worked with and know that the national team camp is coming up, you can already see themselves prepping themselves up for that camp. Throughout the season, they know exactly. They're very conscious about their weight, what they eat, how they recover, etc., etc. So that's the kind of standard they've set there. So intensity-wise, style of play-wise, I think it's going to be very exciting because both Pakistan and Nepal are going to be even more motivated to beat us, as opposed to what we would be motivated to beat them. And I don't know what to expect with Pakistan with the players that are coming in. You could see a totally different style of play with them, or you could see players maybe coming together for the first time and not just performing as a team. With Nepal, I think it's going to be a very, very tough game because Vincenzo, the coach that he is, will set them up not to lose the way he worked with his Gokulam team. So it's going to be really, really difficult to beat these teams, So against Pakistan, against Nepal, that first goal is going to be very, very crucial. If we get that first goal, then it's going to be a little bit more smooth sailing where they have to come out and kind of, score and open up a little bit, which and we have the quality. to kind of, break those kind of spaces down. And then it comes down to the Kuwait game, which I'm really looking forward to, where I feel a rejuvenated Kuwait, previously one of the best teams in that region prior to the ban. So I think they're still there and thereabouts with their quality. So that's going to be the toughest game in the group for sure. So that's going to be exciting as well. So it's always good to see the national team play and perform week in, week out. So you're going to see the Intercontinental Cup as well, and then now the SAFF championships, and then the semi-finals and finals as well. So that's going to be a good watch. Yeah.
And any particular, I mean, like I said, we wouldn't see, we won't be able to talk about the Intercontinental Cup, but and you don't know what the squad looks like for SAFF Cup. But if you had to just look at the squad that's going into the Intercontinental right now, for the SAFF Cup, any particular picks that you're looking forward to from the Indian contingent?
Oh, I'm looking forward to Anirudh Thapa contributing more, because I think he's the best player I've ever coached, and he's the most complete player that I see in Indian football. He can do whatever he wants. And off late, Igor has been using him much more in advanced position, closer to Sunil Chhetri up front. And he's brought in that creativity in and about the penalty box, and he's getting goals and he's getting assists. So hopefully if that continues, I see him influencing the team even more and working around Sunil. Like everybody asks, what after Sunil? It's not going to be one player. It's going to be a group of players that are going to contribute to what Sunil does at this moment in time. So players like Anirudh Thapa is going to be one of them to take the team in forward in the next generation. Then players like Liston. I think games against Pakistan, games against Nepal, cry out for players like Liston to do something out of nothing. So players like him, Ashik, if he's fit and firing. So Bipin, who's in form now for Mumbai City FC. These kind of players, Brandon, the creative players who kind of step up and make the game easier for us. So I'm looking forward to these players, running the show for the national team. Yeah.
Great. I think a lot of action, and it's good. Like you mentioned, it's always good to see Indian football, the national team in action. And like you mentioned, Bengaluru being the place, definitely the atmosphere, and they're going to bring the party to the pitch.
And judging by the last game I saw, there was Kerala Blasters versus Bengaluru.
Yeah.
So if it's going to provide that level of excitement, then I'm up for it.
Yeah,
sure.
Great. I think for all those who are planning on a trip, if you can probably slide into the DMs of Coach FP if you want to have a chat with him and get a glimpse of him in Bengaluru. I'm also going to be there. Looking forward to this. It's been a while to catch. I haven't watched football game at Kantirava. It's been so nothing like to watch the national team play. So great. And on that note, thank you so much, Coach FP. This was fun. I think while doing this, I was thinking of tweeting saying that just recorded with Coach FP, and it felt like therapy because it was so smooth. It was so nice and well, as if it was like silence, like how beautiful silence sounds. That's how this episode was.
Like I say, for any time and any place for football.
Yeah.
It's always good, to kind of express yourself with and provide the experience that you've been through.
Yeah.
So especially for the fans and especially for people who are listening, there are people who kind of have a lot of misconceptions of what's going on, say with the national team camp or with say Bibiano's under-17 team or Northeast United or ISL. So it's good to kind of clear all that out and kind of just say things as they are. And it gives the people a different kind of perspective to look at, whether it be a national. Now it's SAFF, everybody's expecting to win.
Yeah.
If you win, and then they say you can't win SAFF, how will you go to the AFC? They are two totally different tournaments altogether. I believe that we will be better off in the AFC Asia Cup than in SAFF, because that tournament suits us much better because of the teams that we're going to play up against. So a lot of things like that, technical details, which you don't really kind of have the time to discuss. It's always good to have platform like this to discuss such things. Yeah,
I think we'll keep getting you so we can go into the details and go into the depth of each of the technical aspect as well and break the whole myth out there. But honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I would say thank you so much for always being there. And it feels also like a support for what we are doing out here. So thank you so much once again.
Keep it up. Keep it up.
Keep going. And to all the listeners, please do follow and subscribe to our show. We are available on all the leading audio platforms. This is the Total Indian Football Show, and me, Siju, signing off. Thank you very much.